Hello everyone, welcome to another part in this Call of Duty style loadout tutorial series. Today we're going to take a look at how you can set up your lethals and your tacticals so you can select it for your custom loadout. This is going to be a very quick tutorial, so I really hope you like it. If you do, please hit the like button and also hit the subscribe because we're coming really close on closing up this tutorial series, and I'm excited to soon announce the next tutorial series. Thank you again, and let's get into the video. To start with the lethal select, let's go to our UI folder inside of the loadout system, create a new folder, and then we'll name this lethals. And we're going to borrow this weapon select box from the primary and also the weapon select from the primary. We're going to copy it. And then in the lethals, we're going to paste it. First, we're going to rename this as lethals WS. And this one would be lethals as well, WS box. Inside of this WS box, I want to make a small change to the physical UI itself. I want to make it a little bit more taller. So this size box, I'm going to go ahead and then the height override, I will make it about 150 by 350. And just so that I see how the weapon looks like, I'm going to go ahead and select the weapon image, go back to my content drawer, loadout, portrait, drag this flashbang on here. And that looks pretty good. And then also if I put in the frag grenade, that looks good as well. Let's check the smoke. Yeah, everything looks great. So we're going to leave the frag grenade here, compile. The coding process is exactly the same as how we just redid our sidearm. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this break weapon info. And this S weapon info, I'm going to have to delete here as well. And then select this S weapon info, and then we're going to make it S lethals info. Make it of type lethals info. And then now drag this lethals info get, and then drag off of this, and then we're going to go ahead and break it. The name will be connected to the name, and the portrait will be connected to the portrait. And we're going to take our lethals here, and then we'll do a get. Again, we're going to come back to this interface function in just a moment. But before that, we're going to go to our content drawer, back in our loadout system, UI, lethals, and then we're going to open up the lethal weapon select. We no longer need this top screen up here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that top screen. And then also I'm going to select the size box and then delete it, get rid of it completely. And we only need this weapon container. Now in our graph, we can get rid of all of this AR buttons and stuff like that because we no longer require it. Now for the lethals, we're not going to use any of these functions. Again, create children is a good function to use, but we can just quickly create one. So, and we're not going to filter any of the lethals because we don't have any different type of lethals to filter. But if you do have it in your game, then you would follow our previous instruction on how to filter it out. So all I'm going to do is delete this out, get rid of our filter by weapons, get rid of create children. We don't need the weapon filter array here. All we need is the actual wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and say get data table row names, the plural, and then select the lethals data. And drag off of this and say for each loop. Drag off of the array element and say get data table row, the singular one. Connect the loop body here and then set it to lethals data. And when the row is found, we want to drag our weapon container wrap here. And we're going to go ahead here and say create widget. Drag off of the row found, and then we're going to need to say create widget. And this widget would be that lethals box that we have, right? So our lethals box is right here, and then we can connect our S lethals info right in here. And this container wrap, we're going to drag it and we're going to say add child to wrap box. Connect the execution pin, connect the return value to the content, and that's about it. And now we need to update our pause menu and our interface. So we can go ahead and work on our interface really quickly. I'm going to go back to this WS box, double click on this weapon select, and that will open up the interface for me. Again, a little shortcut. I'm going to go ahead and add a new function. The function name will be UI underscore lethals underscore on clicked. This would have an input lethals info, and this would be of type S lethals info, the structure. Compile it, And then now in our WS box, we can go ahead and delete this weapon select. Off of this player character, we're going to go ahead and say UI underscore lethals on clicked. Connect this on clicked weapon to the interface function and lethals info into this interface function. Now we got to go to our first person character blueprint or third person, whichever character you're using. We're going to go ahead and implement a new function on lethals clicked, implement the event. Again, same thing as update sidearm. If I can double click on it, it will take me to the loadout system component. I can right click on the sidearm and then I can go ahead and duplicate it. And this one would be update lethals. And in our update lethals function here, instead of sidearm info, we're going to put in as lethals info. And this would be s underscore lethals info. And this loadout, we're going to disconnect our sidearm and then connect the lethals here and connect the lethals over here as well. Make sure you check mark the lethals only, and then everything else you can leave it unchecked because we're only going to be updating our lethals here. Now in our first person character, we're going to drag our BPC loadout system, and then we're going to say update lethals. Drag this event UI lethals on clicked here and connect it. And then the lethals info, we're going to connect it here. The index is going to be the same index function. And then the rest of them, again, we're going to copy it and then paste it. This is to notify to visually update our loadout as well. There you go. So that's how you would do your lethals in your first person to customize your loadout. And then next, we're going to go to our loadout system. We're going to go to our UI and our pause menu. And here, where we have event UI on clicked, now we have our lethals set up here. I'm going to create a new variable, and then this would be lethals underscore WS underscore open. And this would be a type boolean, and I'm going to drag this here and set. And when the lethals is clicked, I'm going to go ahead and set this as lethals open. So let me zoom this in. The loadout container and the loadout main button, I'm going to copy it and paste it here and make sure that they're set to hidden. Let me move this down a little bit. Again, we're going to need to come back here and then do more of these functionality when we're ready for the back button. But I want to get all of these loadout classes and their functionality set up. So when we create the back button and then we are going to go in and set up our back button, it'll be so much easier because all the other functions are ready. So here we're going to drag off of this and say create widget. This would be our lethals weapon select. Owning player would be get player controller. Let's get a reference to this by promoting this to a variable, and we're going to name this W underscore weapon select underscore lethals underscore ref. So this is our lethals reference. And then we're going to drag off of this and say add to viewport. And this back button, we're going to set the visibility to visible. We have two lethals, which is a frag grenade and stick grenade. So if I go ahead and if I press play, press T, open up the loadout, click on loadout, select our first loadout. And if I select the lethals now, you'll notice that how the frag grenade and the stick grenade shows up in the list. And if I select the stick grenade, you notice how it immediately changes to stick grenade visually. This is working very well. Again, if you want the camera to move and then focus on the actual grenade itself, you would just use your offsets to move the camera up and down based on which frag or the stick grenade is selected. And that's how you would set up your lethals. Now let's take a quick look at how to set up your tacticals. Exactly same process. So I'm going to go to my loadout system, UI, create a new folder. This would be for tacticals. I'm going to go into lethals and then borrow this lethals weapon select and the lethals weapon select box and paste it into tacticals. Rename this lethals into tacticals. And this one as well. Rename this lethals into tacticals. In the box, I'm going to go to my graph, delete this lethals info here, delete the lethals info here. And this S lethals info, I'm going to make it into S tactical info, and then make this of type S underscore tactical info. Drag this and say get, and we're going to go ahead and break it. And the tactical name would be here, and the portrait would be our weapon image. I can actually double click on this UI lethals on clicked and then create a new function. And this would be interface function would be UI underscore tacticals underscore on click. And this would take the information of our S tacticals info and make sure the structure type is set to tacticals info. Compile, save it. Now go back to your tacticals weapon select box. And we can delete this UI lethals on clicked, drag off of this and say UI underscore tacticals on clicked. And drag this tacticals info into this interface function. Compile and save. We no longer need this WS box. We're going to go to our, we're going to go back to our content drawer. We're going to open up the WS weapon select, go to our graph, and here all we have to do is change the lethals data to tacticals data. Same thing here, lethals data, we're going to change it to tacticals data. And here, instead of creating the lethals box, we're going to be creating our tacticals box. Right click on this and refresh it, and then you will have the tacticals info, and then out row, you would just connect it here. Compile and save, and that's all you have to do in here. And now we're going to go to our first person, and we're going to go ahead and implement this interface function for tacticals UI clicked. Again, I'm going to go to my BPC loadout system, right click on this update lethals, duplicate it, and rename this as update tacticals. And on this input function, instead of saying lethals info, I'm going to say tacticals info, and then this would be of type S, S tacticals info. And the set members, I'm going to uncheck the lethals and then check the tacticals. And then go ahead and drag the tacticals information and connect it there. Compile and save. And back in our first person, we just got to finish our tacticals clicked. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this BPC loadout system. And I'm going to say update tacticals. Connect this here. And the tacticals info, I'm going to go ahead and connect this here. And also the index would be our current selected loadout index. And I'm going to copy this whole thing and put it down here to visually update our tacticals as well. Last, in the pause menu, I'm going to go ahead and create a new variable. This would be tacticals underscore weapon select underscore open. That'll be our Boolean. I'm going to drag this Boolean here, and then I'm going to say set and then check mark it. And I'm going to copy this whole thing here, and I'm going to copy it and then paste it. So it'll be this exact same thing. The only difference is here where we create our widget, instead of the lethals, we're going to create our tacticals. We're going to go ahead and delete this and then drag off of this, and then we're going to create a new promote to a new variable. And this will be W underscore weapon select underscore tacticals underscore ref. So that you know this is a tactical reference. And then we can add this to the viewport. Compile and save. And the last thing we need to do is take this tacticals from our switch and then plug it in here. And now if I press play, press T, loadout, select my custom loadout, and then if I select the tacticals, now the tactical screen opens up. And then if I select the stun, you notice the stun gets changed. And then if I select smoke, the smoke gets changed, and so on and so forth. So everything seems to be working fine here. I think this is a good spot for us to stop this tutorial, folks. This is a very quick one to show you how to set up your tacticals and your lethals. Again, it's the exact same setup as how you did your sidearm or your primary. It's just a whole bunch of copy and paste and then changing the references to reflect the correct equipment that we're trying to change. And other than that, this is all good. The next video, we'll take a look at how we're going to set up the perks. It's going to be very similar to how we're doing it right now, maybe with a small amount of changes. Nothing really major. And after that, we're going to create the back button and then do the full functionality for our back button again. And then we'll close off this series here. So folks, thank you again for stopping by today to check out this video. I really do appreciate you joining us today, and I'll catch you on the next one.